name is Tina and welcome to the G Sport Hub. And once again, welcome to the playoff check, the finale. Because yes, we already had 2 playoff matches and we have 2 more remaining. Yes, we don't have the biggest playoffs. I wanted to make something to first of all summarize what happened in those 2 matches and also make a video that's not 17 minutes, a little bit shorter. First of all, most importantly, we're gonna have our finals this weekend, the 3rd place match on Saturday and our final on Sunday. And I'm super happy to announce that I'm going to live view both matches. So if you go to the G Sport Out Twitch channel and type in !live view, you can just click on the link and that's how you can live view alongside me. First of all, just to be clear, both of our semifinals were a 3-0. Even when I said that the Hawks versus Sengaku should be closer, it wasn't. But let's just straight up jump into our 3rd place match first. V3 Esports, that was a lot less lower than I expected, versus Sengaku Gaming. So just so you know, this is a 3rd place match, meaning that neither team can win LJL anymore. But it's really important to have a 3rd place match because this is gonna be about the last spot in the PCS Playoffs. So whoever wins here, well, can't win the LJL anymore, they're gonna win a ticket to Taiwan to finally be on an international stage. My prediction is it's gonna be a close game, but it's gonna be V3. It may be a hot take, so let me just start getting into why I think it is the case. Watching V3 fight against DFM, actually their top side was doing really well. I've been very vocal about throughout the season how I think Hiroki, V3's jungler, is a really good prospect. He was grinding every single day the Apex Champions queue, and he was showing really good progress throughout his years in V3. And I have to say he is a top tier jungler at the moment in the LJL, as well as, of course, one of the big signings of the offseason was Tana on the top lane for V3. Tana has been one of the better top laners we had last year, so it's no surprise that the top side is this good. And even against DFM, it kinda showed. Like, Steel didn't have a bad game, I wouldn't say he had a bad game. Rayfarky on the other hand, yeah, he had quite a bad game in Game 3, but in general I would say that DFM's strength was Arya in the mid lane and Yutapon in the AD carry position, and especially on the bot lane. I think that's where V3 is somewhat lacking. But here's the thing, same goes for Sengaku Gaming. I said this in my previous video as well, that I think this is the area, the bot lane, where Sengaku Gaming is somewhat lacking. But seeing their game against the Hawks, I think it's a lot worse than I originally thought. Sengaku Gaming heavily relies on Elim carrying, and he didn't even have the best synergy in their last series with Kinetsu in the top lane and Kakun in the mid lane. And their bot lane, while having some good moments, in general, I don't think it was on par with others. So we have these 2 teams with very similar problems. I do think these games are going to be mostly decided by which bot lane is having a better day. I absolutely wouldn't be surprised if this is a 5-game series. On paper, Sengaku should be 100% the better team, but I just didn't see any improvement throughout the season, while V3 actually has been improving. And V3's top laner Tana can just play anything. He played Cassiopeia top lane against DFM and he was doing really well. He was bullying the hell out of Rayfarky on the top lane. And in a lot of team fights it looked like they would win the game. They gave DFM a really hard time, so that's why I would put them a tiny bit above Sengaku Gaming. And if I'm being honest, I would just like if V3 could make it into the PCS Playoffs, because they have been through a lot, even with not all the members they have currently. But for example, Hatel, the support, he has been through the worst times of V3 until now. So I would love these players to finally be on an international stage. And how insane would that be after everything that happened? But that's it for V3 Sengaku. Once again on Saturday, I'm gonna live view it on the G Sport Hub Twitch channel. If you go there, I'm gonna talk in more depth about both teams. That's why let's get into the finals that I know everyone is waiting for. The Hawks versus Detonation. Focusing. Come on Google, it's really slow. So the Hawks versus DFM, the biggest matchup that you can imagine, definitely our 2 best teams. This was the finals in the summer. Now we see the same matchup with most of the same members, except for some very important positions. Because unless you live under a rock, you should know that Abby is back in LJL and now playing for the Hawks. Both of those top laners had an interview after their semi-finals victories, which both you can watch on this channel translated. They had a pretty funny back and forth against each other, so I definitely recommend watching that part. Rayfork has always been this top laner who was somewhat below the Abbeys of the Paws, these big names, but he was constantly on the top still nonetheless. And now, as he said as well, what better way to prove himself is beating Abby on the other side after what I would say a mixed year. Now back in Japan on the Hawks, on our super team. So how are they doing? Who do I think is gonna win? I know what I did in summer. I know that afterwards I said I'm never gonna do it again. I know I said last video that I think the FM is the strongest team, but I think the Hawks is going to win 3-2. Let me explain. That's going to bite me back, isn't it? Remember my preseason rankings and remember what I said about the Hawks. I did think the Hawks is the strongest on paper with the condition if they can find their synergy. They have 2 new joining members in Abby and Forrest, and notably Forrest is a Korean player. He has never played in Japan before. When he came to Japan, he didn't know any Japanese. And this was actually one of the talking points of Dasher in his interview after the semifinals. Once again, you can check out translated on this channel. And he was talking about that, yes, that was one of the main issues with the team. I kept saying throughout the regular season that the Hawks looked really disjointed at times. It was really visible that some of those rotations were not really going well, and we finally got confirmation, even though the voice comms are not out just yet, but they promised they would be out eventually. Yes, it was partially because Forrest is a very aggressive jungler, but he was lacking the Japanese knowledge to really communicate with the team. It seems to be fixed now, and it's not just Dasher saying it seems to be fixed, but their game against Sengaku Gaming really showed that. And Dasher had an amazing series from the Hawks. He was talking about how he had to change his mindset to not really be too overconfident in certain plays. Obviously, the Hawks has Marble and Vista, who are one of the best bot lanes in LJL besides Yutapon and Harp. So it was no surprise that they were better than Sengaku. But let me just talk about the top side, because I did say Sengaku's top side is good, but the Hawks just absolutely destroyed even the top side. And Abby, in case you haven't heard, he played top lane Smolder. And finally, at the exact same time, over on the VCS, Gam top laner Kiaya also played top lane Smolder. So I wonder who those teams screamed. I mean, he was fine with Smolder, but even he wasn't sure if this is really a good pick. Anyways, even with weird picks like that, the Hawks looked super dominating. It seems like Forest's communication issues has mostly been resolved, and the team just looks coordinated. Let's move on to the other side, the DFM side. I can't say that for DFM against V3. And while I did say I think V3 is a stronger team than Sengaku, so it would make sense if DFM had a harder time against them, I think DFM struggled more against them than the level they are better, if this makes sense. At times it really felt like DFM is carried by Arya and Yutapon, which is fine, I guess. It's not a bad meta for a mid lane carry, but I'm really worried what's gonna happen against Dasher, who is having probably one of the best splits in his life. Though I do think Yutapon Harp is probably better than Marble and Vista. It's a really weird dynamics because both supports are really aggressive, but I would give the edge to Yutapon in those cases. Marble hasn't really had like a super carry performance so far. He's really good on utility carries, but I haven't really seen him pop off. So at the end, once again, I would be shocked if this is a quick 3-0. I think it's going to be 5 games, and I think it's going to be 3-2 for the Hawks. But whatever happens, we're going to see both teams at PCS. This is confirmed. It's just whoever wins is going to be slotted right into next to probably CFO and Frank, and whoever loses in the finals is gonna be our second seed, which means they have to go through play-ins alongside with who I assume would be V3. And if on Sunday the Hawks actually end up winning LJL, they would be only the 4th team. Yes, you heard it right. This would be only the 4th team who has ever won LJL. Can Abby do this? Can he, in his words, end the DFM dynasty? Find out on Sunday. And once again, don't forget that on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/gsporthub, we are going to have a live viewing. But for now, this was my video. I really hope you enjoyed it. There's gonna be a lot of content coming this week on the G Sport Hub channels, so make sure to follow us. We are on Twitter, we are on Threads, we are on Blue Sky, and we are also on Facebook as well for all the PCS fans. And if you can afford, we also have a Patreon where all the donations are gonna be just making the channel better and better. I can't wait to see our final 2 best of 5s this weekend. I was Tina with the G Sport Hub, and see you in the next video. Oh, and see you on the live viewings. First of all, see you on the live viewings. Bye bye!